Today, Donald Trump has sent 700 U.S. Marines to Los Angeles to scare the community here into compliance, to scare them into allowing ICE to do what it's doing and terrorize communities and families. Again, this is on top of 2,000 National Guard that were sent to crack down on protesters on Saturday night. The total of feds in this city are now about 4,000. Trump has not declared the Insurrection Act yet, but he's federalized national troops. I mean, he's effectively doing it. Martial law hasn't been declared yet, but again, he's sort of flirting with it. And the impact might be the same. And this is all stemming from Friday's raids. ICE raids came down on many different communities, 7 different locations, including 2 Home Depots, a store in the fashion district, and a donut shop. So, in other words, places where people work, okay? Places where criminals and gang members and drug dealers and human traffickers generally don't hang out, right? You don't sort of have a donut shop job on the side after you're doing your human smuggling. That's usually when you do that's what you do. That's how you would make your money, which all goes to show that ultimately ICE is not about stopping criminals who don't have papers. We all know that was a ruse and that was a lie, and it's been a lie since Donald Trump's first administration, right? And it's only gotten worse. They've gotten $10 billion more. ICE has gotten $10 billion more since 2016, y'all. So what are they going to do with it? This. They deliberately have been focusing on workplace raids and deliberately not focusing on any kind of actual crime, right? So community members came out to film, to bear witness, to try to prevent the arrest of 44 people. They also went to schools like LAUSD schools. Federal agents arrived. They lied and said that the federal agents were told by the children's parents and their guardians, because a lot of them are here without actually out their direct parents, but with their guardians, lied and said their guardians gave them permission to go and detain them. Administrators stopped them. When they asked for who they were, are they ICE? They didn't seem like ICE. The feds did not give them their IDs, refused to ID themselves, and ultimately they left. But here's what's happening right now, y'all. People are hearing reports of ICE outside of parks, playgrounds, Targets, again, Home Depots, anywhere where people are working, caring for you, caring for kids, working in restaurants, right? These are all the places. And so there was resistance to that. And then, of course, this is unfurled, this massive and fast moving escalation by the federal government. Now, it's important to know, DHS has their own line. They say that the people they arrested on Friday were the worst of the worst. Their words, quote, worst of the worst. They have faces and names on their website, so you get all scared. And yeah, cool. Judging by the fact that you sweep up people purely because they have tattoos, we totally believe you. Ask Kilmar Abrego Garcia how that's turned out. Ask Anders, who is still in a gulag in El Salvador, how that's all worked out. How honest ICE is when they say that they're actually capturing criminals. We know they're not honest. We know it's all BS. And until we see otherwise, that's the line I'm going with. I would never launder you an ICE line. I would never launder you a DHS press release. Now, the feds have been sent here to patrol detention facilities because, again, heaven forbid said workers have any solidarity or the people of LA have a say, be able to democratically exercise their First Amendment rights and be outside of the detention centers. 2 representatives have tried to gain access to the detention centers. Remember, if they're federal, representatives can inspect them to make sure they're up to code. Jimmy Gomez, whose politics are trash, but who did a good thing to try to get access. He was denied access to the federal detention center, I think yesterday morning. Representative Maxine Waters also denied access to detention facilities. Ultimately, what this is about is subverting the government of California. We're all about states' rights, but except for when it comes to when we want to send in the feds against a blue city and punish them. And look, Karen Bass is, again, has I think, weak sauce centrist Democratic politics. However, she said something, I believe this was yesterday or this morning, that I think was right on the money.
We need to stop the raids. This should not be happening in our city. It is not warranted, and the only thing it does is contribute to chaos. This was chaos that was started at Washington, D.C. On Thursday, the city was peaceful. On Friday, it was not, because of the intervention of the federal government.
That's the line. That is the line. Earlier, we heard Karen Bass saying, hey, any protesters who are doing anything, violent, you need to knock it off and don't give them what they want. I don't want to hear any of that crap. We'll talk about it in a second. That's the line I need to hear. That is the line. This was escalated and instigated by ICE, by DHS, by the now U.S. Marines, by the National Guard. And to give you a sense of the kind of thing that they're doing, and look, they have deployed tear gas, they have deployed flashbang grenades, there was a peaceful protest that started in Boyle Heights. It was led by Centro CSO, an awesome organization that's done long-time immigrant support work here in the city. And they were going downtown, right? People got there downtown, they started tear gassing them. And you guys know, if you've ever experienced tear gas, it's basically like within a block, you're dispersed because you can't see anything, you're coughing, you don't want to move forward. And we're talking about a peaceful demonstration. So they were just being turned around for no reason. And here, if you needed any more evidence, here's a reporter, an Australian reporter who is just talking about what's happening. And then you see there's a moment where there is a dude with a flash bang grenade gun. He's just like, you know what? For shits and gigs, I'm just going to fire one off in her leg.
After hours of standing off, this situation has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA.
You just shut the fuck up! You okay?
I'm good.
Are you okay?
The weakest people. I saw you reporting, bam, gone. I mean, again, point number 1005 of how this reminds me of the Israeli occupation, but let's move on. There's footage of LAPD trampling people on horseback. There is footage of ICE cars. This was one of the first things that we saw. ICE cars running over a protester who was trying to stop it, running into them. Luckily, they lied down and they stopped, but they could have killed that person very, very easily. There's footage, this young woman, this woman was shot in the leg, the reporter, but there's footage of them shooting people with rubber bullets in the head, right? And these aren't foam bullets. They're big and they're plastic and they can absolutely kill people. I know people have been shot in the head by rubber bullets. It's not good. It's not okay. And they narrowly escape with their people have been killed by rubber bullets. All right. You're supposed to shoot them at the ground and they ricochet up at legs, things like that, right? No, they're shooting them right in people's heads. And then, of course, we're bombarded with images that sort of are supposed to prove, that actually the Angelinos and the protesters are the dangerous ones. And here's just a shot of an overpass that leads into downtown. It's a very famous overpass where that leads you to City Hall, basically. And protesters, no matter whether if they're talking about Palestine, BLM, whatever, you block this road or you walk by the road. So the cops decided to block it sort of in advance. And they also waited underneath the overpass, just like, okay, you're kind of sitting ducks there, because what they didn't do was they didn't put people above the overpass and the bridge. And so protesters were over them. Now, what happened? Why are there rocks on these police cars? Who was throwing rocks and pieces of sidewalk on them? Doesn't that look awful? Those cops began, and this is according to local reporters, began shooting up flashbang grenades up at the people above them. So I'm sorry, But you definitely started that one. So what are people supposed to do? You didn't cordon off the bridge ahead of that on top of you. You basically parked yourself like a sitting duck, and okay, they dropped like a part of a sidewalk on your car. You're fine. It's property damage, right? So like again, these are the excuses. Here is Homeland Security, DHS government Twitter account saying order will be restored with a dude, a shirtless dude with a Mexican flag standing on top of a burning Waymo. Like, I'm sorry, but this looks I'm just it objectively looks cool. Like, I'm like, you can't argue that this looks cool. Order will be restored. Our Waymos will be protected. Once again, Waymos, unmanned. Nobody's in them. Property, right? That have been unleashed onto the population of LA, unleashed onto the cab drivers, the Uber drivers, the taxi drivers, without having a single say in it. Right? Training on our streets. Nobody's got to say. Nobody asked me. Nobody asked any citizen whether or not we wanted Waymos on our streets. So it's just so funny. Like, oh, the Waymos. And then, of course, the Mexican flag. How could they? No. Let me just explain something to you. People in California bring Mexican flags to like barbecues. You know what I'm saying? You bring a Mexican flag to, your kid's soccer game. Seeing a Mexican flag is nothing to be afraid of, especially if you're here in California, a place that used to be Mexico, interestingly. All of this is when people have pride in the countries that either their parents were from, usually their parents were from. It is about saying that this country is a country of immigrants. This is a nation of immigrants. Do not target my community. And we all know that the triggered right, when they talk about waving foreign flags, they mean flags of countries where they're brown people, right? Because of course you can go out onto the streets and wave an Israeli flag, and then you believe in sort of a Jewish ethno state, and that's absolutely fine, right? And it's very white coded, of course, and that's totally fine. You wouldn't be, no one would call for your deportation. No one would say that was anti-American. No, that's perfectly compatible. There is no dissonance here. So again, stop with the foreign flag psychopathy, okay? This is about pride. This is about pride in this country. This is about pride in this city. And yeah, it's about the America that we're trying to build and that we thought we were on a path toward until you decided to target brown people and immigrants who built this fucking country. And lastly, the resistance has very much worked. ICE was kicked out of Chinatown on Saturday night after they tried to go there to arrest more people. ICE was kicked out of hotels in Pasadena where they were being held. So it's funny because I've been seeing images of like National Guard sleeping on the ground. And it's like, yeah, man, because no hotel wants to house them. And certainly not hotel workers, okay? Many of whom are immigrants. You think they want to like have anything to do with that? No, it's terrible for their brand in a place like this. So Pasadena members of Pasadena community came out and kicked ICE out of the hotels they were staying at. And moreover, these actions have been a deterrent to what ICE is really trying and continues to try to do. There are warnings of ICE activity all around LA County, which is once again, target immigrants, target workers, family members, people who are also in immigration proceedings. What does that mean? That means they are going through the proper channels. They are, filing for their asylum claims. They are waiting their turn, so to speak. That is what they are doing. They're checking in with immigration courts so that they know where they are. They're like, look, I'm a gainfully employed person who pays taxes despite not receiving any Social Security benefits, right? Like, that is who I am. You know where to find me. This has been an agreement. That is what due process in immigration court means. And now Donald Trump has weaponized that against them. We know DACA recipients have also been targeted. So everything else is a distraction. And good on places like Glendale for kicking ICE out of, or saying that they're not going to honor a holding contract that they once had with ICE. So F out of here with that. We all know that also a union leader of SEIU was arrested. He's now been released. David Huerta, he's got a federal charge. He's actually been released, but he's still got like felony charges, not federal charges, excuse me, felony charges. Spare me this is the right way to protest, this is the wrong way to protest, do this and that, just relent a little bit, and ICE will leave you alone. Are you one of the bad ones? If you're not one of the bad immigrants, ICE is going to leave you alone. Buddy, they're picking up people with tattoos. It doesn't matter who you are. The directive is 3,000 detentions a day. And when Donald Trump says things like this is lastly, Donald Trump says things like this: a once great American city, Los Angeles, has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. Now violent insurrectionist mobs are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try to stop our deportation operations. But these lawless riots will only strengthen our resolve, Our migrant riots. Ooh, we're calling them migrant riots now. What they mean is the invasion it's always been an invasion, right? The invasion is the taco stand on your corner. Which, by the way, I was reading something recently. It was like the amount of like safety that having a taco stand on your corner actually brings to your community is way more than like a cop who's waiting on the corner does. And it's totally true. You've got lights, you've got food, people are gathering. Anyway, I digress. The point is the very existence of immigrants in a city like LA is being called an invasion by Donald Trump, a retroactive invasion by, it's not Donald Trump, it's Stephen Miller, who when he was in 12th grade, some kid called him a puto and then stole his girlfriend. And then we've been suffering ever since. So that's what it is. I hope our Democratic leaders can dig in, can toughen up. We're seeing some signs of that. I'll talk about Gavin Newsom tomorrow a little bit more because this dude's trying to ride this wave like we don't know. He has been fluffing the far right for months now. Okay, buddy, you're not going to be president. It's fine. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.